let me put a caveat. Any opinion I express here are solely mine.
Just opinion.
It is not for Peter Obi. Neither does it reflect the opinion of VOP TV News.
Okay.
First of all, there is no, as much as I know, attack between the supporters of Peter Obi, otherwise called the Obedience. It has metamorphosed now to OK Movement.
Yes.
OK Movement being Obi Kwankwansiyya Movement. And the supporters of Atiku Abubakar. ADC should by now have decided that their ticket is going south.
Exactly.
That is the only way to go. There is no other way to go. Let me say it as bluntly as it can be. As we speak today, Atiku Abubakar cannot win a single state in the 17 states of the South.
Are you sure?
That is the truth.
Of the South? That
is the 17 states of none. The 5 states of the Southeast, the 6 states of the South-South, and the 6 states of the Southwest. And we will lose most of the states in the South, in the North Central. I'm talking of the plateau. This is pragmatic politics. We are not being idealistic here. We are not trying to, tiptoe around the issue. Look at states like, places like Abuja. Abuja is not a state. Places like Abuja, states like Plateau, states like Benue, states like even Kogi. Obi won Kogi the last time.
Yes, it did.
Yes. Taraba. Even in his own home state of Adamawa, Obi had 100,000 votes. In Obi's state of Anambra, Atiku had, I think, 5,000 votes. In those states where I come from, Obi won in the last presidential election.
Yes, he did.
Tinubu came second. Atiku came a distant third. Here in Lagos, Obi won. Tinubu came second. Atiku came a distant third. Same as most of the southwestern states, apart from Oshun, and that's because of the influence of the dancing governor, Governor Adeleke. In the South-South, we know that it was a miracle that happened in Akwa Ibom, because people think that it's only APC that rigged the last election. Akwa Ibom electoral vote was a miracle. That's how Atiku was able to win in Akwa Ibom. In Delta State, where his deputy comes from, Obi won landslide. In Rivers State, we heard the miracle of Rivers State. Today, the result in IREP is different from the result announced in Rivers State. There is a BBC report on it. There's a Premium Times report on it, so I'm not speculating.
Yeah.
So we know the miracle of Obiakpo and by extension, the miracle of Rivers State. Now, if you go to the North Central, the Christian population of the North will vote and Obi any day, anytime. It happened before and it will happen again. Obi won in all the major population centers in the last election, apart from Kano. He won in Lagos, he won in Abuja, he won in Rivers, according to real votes. I'm not talking of the fictitious.
No, yes, that one was obvious.
It's quite obvious. Now, the only major population center that Obi did not win was Kano. And today, Kwankwaso, as we speak, has agreed for an alliance with Obi. So we have a ticket that sells itself, a ticket that does not need marketing. Obi energizes the youthful populations of the South and the Middle Belt. The core North are energized by Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. The two biggest political movements in Nigeria today is the Obidient Movement and the Kwankwasiyya Movement. To think otherwise is naive. It is pragmatic that the ticket goes to Obi and Kwankwaso. And they have even by themselves agreed on a working formula for that ticket. And it is that is the only ticket that can unseat the behemoth Tinubu has created in Abuja. Look, let us not kid ourselves. Tinubu has 31 governors supporting him. He has 80% of the Senate. He has about 75% of the House of Representatives. Even the governors that are not supporting him, they are leaning towards him. It is public knowledge that Charles Chukwuma Soludo is supporting him. He's not in APC.
Yeah, he's not.
And there are even rumors now that the crown jewel, the pride of the Obidient Movement, Alex Choma Oti of Abia, there are tenders.
Not tenders. He said so.
That he is going to be supporting.
He said he and Tinubu are friends, and to be close to the center. So obviously,
you need a ticket that can win, not a ticket not just to have another election for the sake of elections. So having said that, it is my opinion that Atiku should consider yielding, not stepping down, stepping aside. He's too big to step down. He's a big man.
Yeah.
Step aside for the younger folks in the party. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, they are both in their 60s, Peter Obi and Rabiu, to step forward. Due to popular demand, I want to replay this video up here I've gotten a lot of complaints that this video was too fast when I played it. Please watch it now and please share it. The reason why we increase the speed is so that Instagram, Facebook and TikTok can push it. They like shorter videos. So, but because you have requested, I want you to watch the full length of the video. Leave your opinion in the comment section.
Found a more dangerous 3 provisions, and I put them out so that I think that Nigerian can read it. They can see it before any comment. First, let's go to section 63. Now, section 63, which I just discovered, they have now reintroduced something very terrible. You can see it there. That ballot paper that will be used for the 2027 election, that does not bear the official mark, the feature, security features of INEC, should be accepted by presiding officer. You can read it there. That where the returning officer satisfied, the word satisfied, that was contained in section 49 of the 2010 Act that took us 20 years until 2022 to repeat, to remove, because what is the objective condition to determine what satisfies a presiding officer? The presiding officer has now been given the discretion to now accept ballot paper, notwithstanding the absence of the official mark, and to count that ballot paper. What that means is that before this election, politicians who have access to the the security features of INEC ballot, they are going to produce their ballot papers. They are going to print their own ballot paper that have to be accepted. This is dangerous, as put in the Electoral Act. Similarly, may I show section 138? No, 138. Let's go to section 138. Section 138 has been one of the rigging provisions that we have cried out to be removed. As a matter of fact, you remember that in 2019, in this current republic, under Buhari was the only time that there was no Electoral Act passed. Because when we made that recommendation, that this thing should be removed, this section should be removed, you remember that it was rejected. And what the section says? Grant of final petition. It says that an act or omission which may be contrary to the instruction or directive of the commission or of an officer appointed for the purpose of election, but which is not contrary to the provision of this act, shall not of itself be a ground for questioning the election. May I make a few observations here? You see, when you want to deceive people, you put it in words. Bring that section back again. What they basically said, they were just short of referring to INEC regulations and guidelines, because the instruction and directive of INEC are contained in INEC regulation and guidelines. They are saying that a presiding officer, an assistant presiding officer, a collation officer, a returning officer, they can abandon it. So they provided immunity there without repeating. Let's go to the last section. It will interest Nigerians to know that Section 137 now says that all those categories of individuals, and I think the other time I provided you what we call a pyramid. All the categories that we have just mentioned, presiding officer, returning officers, it says that where the petition, that's anybody go to petition now, to go to file a petition, complains of the conduct of an electoral officer, a presiding officer, returning officer, it shall not be necessary to join such officer. That is those who have disobeyed to follow INEC instruction and guidelines. That it shall not be necessary to bring them to the commission. That was why, you remember in 2019, in 2023 and previous elections, you find that because INEC has been joined, you are saying that the people who rig election, presiding officer who actually were the maker of the document, you say because you have invited, you have joined INEC as a respondent, it shall not be necessary to bring them to the tribunal. Meanwhile, the courts have always complained about what we call dumping of documents, that petitioners should come and call for oral evidence. To deal with that, under section 137, in the 2022 Act, a new law was put in there to the effect that if document, because you remember that in the 2023 election, there were results, about 18,000 in different parts of the different, where they had different numbers of result sheets that were mutilated. You could not read them, but votes were attributed to them. But they were certified by our commission. They were taken to court You remember that when a director of our commission who unfairly was brought to speak to document he did not make, he was not able to read them. Yet the court will now propose under the 2022 Act that have now been removed to the effect that once there's a complaint about non-compliance to the due process, to the extent that the document is before the court, certified as INEC document, it shall not be necessary to call oral evidence because of the fact that most of the presiding officer will not be around. Dr. Abati, as we speak, this provision that I have outlined, particularly, it means that at the level of the balloting, it has been sabotaged to the extent that ballot papers, you can now going to have ballot box stuffing, people are going to produce their ballot paper. Remember, in 2019, in 2 states, one in the southeast, one in the south-south, some unscrupulous members of our commission gave the serial number, gave the security features of ballot papers to politicians. And when INEC, in the case of Imo State, went to the court to say that this document, result sheet, is not our document. But guess what? The court, tribunal, upheld a forged document. This is where the role of the judiciary comes in. And this is where I am worried. When Dr. Abayu said, I have been, see, my clarion call since 2010 when I came to the commission has always been on the basis of my experience as a young man who had my first school in Ondo State when Fagbengbe was killed because of the outcome of election. And that's why I've always called on my constituents to say that our legal profession is not just to make a living. We have a special role to play in the life of a society. And that is why if Hussaini and Dr. Abadi, you have a problem, you come to us as lawyers. When you have a problem between yourself and government, you come to us as a lawyer. And that the lawyer, the judiciary, must be the last line of defense of democracy and the rule of law. But that has not happened historically and unfortunately.
Since wicked people are preparing, let those of us who are standing on the side of good also prepare.